Who wants to know, here is how much I make on YouTube with 200,000 subscribers. Let me show you the analytics. Starting with views, it really depends on the day. Sometimes I'll get a couple thousand. videos.